Hi, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Stacks, the podcast for Lincoln Township Public Library. I am Brian Johnston, the Adult Services Librarian here, and with me is my co-host, Amy Nolan. Amy, how are you doing today?
I'm excellent. Thanks for asking.
All right, wonderful. Well, we are about to enter the holiday season. It's one of the busiest times of year for a lot of different people, but it's also a time to spend with family and friends and enjoy a lot of wonderful traditions and making new memories. So just kind of thinking about everything coming up here soon. Amy, what are some of your favorite things that you're looking forward to?
Oh boy. Well, I'm Greek, so that would mean it's the food. That's what I'm looking forward to. I love to cook and I love to entertain. And I really like the planning aspect of the holidays. I get my lists out, and different decorations. I think maybe that's why I like Thanksgiving a lot, is because it really kind of centers around the food and the tableware and the centerpieces. And, my kids are going to come home. And, I like all of it. And my husband really gets into decorating the outside of our house with lights for Christmas. We look like a landing strip from O'Hare by the time it's done. I'm not exaggerating. But it's joy-filled. It's stressful, but it's joy-filled. And that's what I'm looking forward to. What about you?
I was just going to ask, so you talked about planning. Like,
yes.
how far in advance do you like to plan stuff? Like your Thanksgiving dinner and buying Christmas presents? How far in advance do you do all that stuff?
Now you've opened it up. Well, if you stole, which you never would, but if you stole my iPad and looked in it, I have menus, I think, going back to 2012.
Oh, gosh.
God forbid you repeat something, and I have little notes about it. I'll probably start planning. Well, actually, my husband and I already planned the Thanksgiving meal. I think we might do a Texas brisket just to change things up.
Oh, wow.
And Christmas, I'll have to look through my notes and see what I haven't done in a while. So, I'm into it. It's a little neurotic side of me there. So I'm going to flip the switch. What about you? What are you looking forward to?
Well, just a couple things come to mind. One of them is, I'll share one with you, eating.
Yes.
I do enjoy, all the different, holiday meals and treats we get. The way it tends to work generally in my house is, and my wife and I share things pretty well, but she's better at making the food and I'm better at cleaning up. Like that's kind of our system we got going. So obviously we help each other with both, but like I think she enjoys the cooking more and I enjoy the cleaning up more. So besides that,
wait, do you really enjoy the cleaning up?
Well, maybe enjoy isn't the right word, but like if I see that the kitchen is really messy, there's tons of dirty dishes, leftovers be put away. Like after I do all that, like I feel a really great sense of accomplishment afterwards.
That's
like I feel
lovely.
really good.
That
like I got
lovely.
everything done. It might take me an hour to do it, but like I look at the clean kitchen afterwards and I feel really good about myself. So
and she's going to exploit that.
Yeah. And then I guess the other thing I'll mention is the holiday specials. Every year, I have to watch all the Charlie Brown specials. I have to watch all the Garfield specials.
Oh, my gosh.
I have to watch both the Home Alones. That's like a must-do every year.
Do you watch Die Hard? Because that is the ultimate Christmas movie.
I haven't really gotten into that one that much, and I hear a lot of people say that, like, I hear people debate about whether it's a Christmas movie or not.
It's a Christmas movie.
Some people will argue that.
Debate
with you,
ended.
But...
It is. There we go.
All right. Well, you said so that's what we'll go for. But no, I really like, even though, like, Home Alone, like I can pretty much act out that entire movie for you. I've seen it so many times, but even though I know what's coming in every scene, like it doesn't take away from the magic for me.
Like Christmas stories like that for me.
In fact, I think it almost makes it better that way. You know what's going on.
Yeah.
And then like the Peanuts specials. There's 2 different Christmas specials. Obviously those are kind of geared towards kids, but even when you're an adult, they're still really entertaining. And when you watch those, and the Garfield one's another one, like I watched those like 30 years ago when I was a kid, but like even when I watch them now, there's like every time I watch it, there's still like new gags that like went over my head before that I get now.
Oh, that's adorable.
So maybe it's just because I'm better able to understand them now. I don't know, but are there any Christmas specials you enjoy watching every year?
Christmas Story.
Oh yeah.
That still to this day just cracks me up. I love that. And a couple years ago, a group of friends and I went to the Acorn Theater and saw It's a Wonderful Life on the big screen.
Oh,
and
okay.
that was, and a lot of them had not seen it before. And I mean, it's a tearjerker. It's funny. It's great. So there's several that I don't have a tradition of watching them every year, but when I do watch those certain films, it's lovely.
Oh, yeah.
And George C. Scott as Scrooge in A Christmas Carol is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. So there's my plug.
Yeah, I'm sure lots of other listeners have their favorite movies as well. So, we have a wonderful episode for you here today. We're going to be talking with Stephanie Kohler-Pagan. She is with the Lory's Place in St. Joseph, and she's actually going to be coming to Royalton Township Hall on November 18th at 6:30 to do a program talking about grief during the holidays. I know they do lots of wonderful things over there, and I'm sure she's going to have lots of insightful things. So we hope a lot of patrons out there will be able to join us for that event. But we're going to have her on the show today, and we're going to ask her some questions, and I'm sure she's going to provide a lot of helpful information for our listeners.
I'm really looking forward to that.
All right, let's get started. Our guest today is going to be Stephanie Kohler-Pagan. She is the director of Lory's Place. Stephanie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, Brian. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we're glad that you're here. So why don't you start off by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am the director of bereavement, actually, for Corewell Health, but also the director of Lory's Place. So I wear a few hats in my work life. In my personal life, I am married to a wonderful man named Michael. I have two gorgeous, I call them my kids, but they're actually 28 and 30 now. Both will be getting married in this next year, so our family is growing.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. It is very exciting, and I am blessed because they have found two amazing women. So our and I do have granddogs as well, which I also love. But that's just a little bit about me. I love to cook. I love exercise, going to the beach, all that good stuff.
That's awesome.
All right. Sounds like you keep busy.
I do keep a little busy, but that's the way I like it.
Yep.
And you're so good at it, too.
Oh, thank you, Amy.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I know Stephanie, so this is fun.
We're buds.
We are buds. For our audience who might not be familiar with Lory's Place and all that it does, could you share a little bit of the history of how it came to be in our community?
Yes, absolutely. 20 years ago, actually in January, Dr. Lory Schultz died tragically in a car accident. Lory was a very beloved doctor in our area. After her death, her husband, Ron, she also had two very young children, Eric and Sophia, who were 3 and 5 at the time. We're really trying to figure out where can we go, where we can be heard, that we can feel normal in what we are experiencing. And they had a wonderful neighbor, Lisa Bartosik, who had actually knocked on their door and said, "How can I be helpful?" At that time, she was a bereavement leader for what was then called Hospice at Home, which we knew later to be Caring Circle. And she said, "You know what?" After she listened to Ron for a little while, she said, "I've heard about this wonderful idea of having a grief center and a place where people could go to be able to share their stories." So the two of them came together with some other really key community leaders, raised the funds to open the beautiful center we now have.
Wow.
Yeah. That's very important. We all lose loved ones at one point or another, and it's really important to find help and support anywhere you possibly can. So that's wonderful.
And it really shows the power of community, doesn't it?
Totally. Yeah.
Absolutely. The community continues to be incredibly generous to Lory's Place. We would not exist without them.
Yeah, that's great. So why don't you tell us about some of the services that Lory's Place offers to the community then?
Absolutely. At the core of what we offer and have for all these 20 years is what we call peer support groups. Those are groups, and it's a safe space that is created for people who've experienced a death. It doesn't matter how long ago it's been. It doesn't matter whether you've even had a service. People can come of all ages and join a peer support group. We have them for elementary, middle, high, and several adult-only groups as well. So miscarriage, stillbirth, infant death, suicide loss, substance-related loss, homicide, and just general adult loss groups, whether that death was sudden, such as a car accident, or maybe a prolonged illness. We also offer what we call crisis response. So for an example, might be there's a death of a student in a school. We will go to that school, support that staff, those students, allow them an opportunity to really reflect and process through that death. Education, one of the things, for example, that I'm going to be doing at the library, just giving people some good tools to help them understand better what grief is and why it's important to mourn well. We also are now offering community one-on-one support is what we call it. So we have friends who are like, I don't think group's for me, or I'm not quite ready. So we offer seven sessions for a person to have some one-on-one support.
What is that? Is that a new service?
That is a new service. Our friends on the hospice side of our work had typically provided that. And when I became the leader of the entire team and we aligned services, really all of the community support happens on the Lory's Place side. And then the hospice side, the bereavement coordinators over there support those folks.
Yeah.
Wow.
That sounds like you're doing a lot of really helpful things. And I'm just going back a little bit. I think it's wonderful that you're there to help students who maybe have experienced the sudden loss of a classmate. Because I know, that was something that happened to somebody at my high school when I was in high school years ago. And, when you're a teenager and a fellow classmate who still has almost their whole life in front of them just loses it tragically, it's almost you don't know how to handle it. It's almost impossible. It's just so sudden and unexpected. So I think it's great that you do that.
Oh, thank you so much. When we're young, we think we're invincible. Those kind of things aren't going to happen to us. And unfortunately, we are called out probably 4 or 5 times in a year. And it is heartbreaking. But what we love about our work is that we can bring that safe space to people no matter where they are, and that we can help get them started on that healing path.
Yeah, for sure. Stephanie, for our listeners, if they know someone who's currently grieving the loss of a loved one, what's some advice for what they can say or do trying to offer them support? I know that a lot of us feel unsure. We don't want to say the wrong thing, and it's a very hard thing for people to approach.
Absolutely. I think we've all been in that place, whether it's at the funeral home or you're trying to figure out, what to do to support that friend. Finding the words can be really difficult, even for me still after all these many years. And I think sometimes we worry so much about saying the right thing that we sometimes say things that aren't very helpful. I think sometimes less is just more, right? Just saying, I just want to be in this space with you. I'm here to listen. Don't be afraid to say that person's name. Oftentimes people say, I don't want to bring it up. Maybe they're having a good day. But what we know is if you've had somebody in your life die, it lives right under the surface. So if that comes up for somebody, you're not making them cry. You're not making them upset. They're already grieving. And it can bring such comfort to someone to know that you're thinking about them. You're willing to say their person's name, and they want to hear their person's name. We encourage people who are grieving, if they're in that space and they don't want to talk about it, to just simply say, I'd really rather not talk about it. And I think as caregivers, as people who care about those people, to not be offended by that, but just allow that to be okay. The other thing we really share with people is that when you say, let me know if there's anything I can do, understand that somebody, unless they're very close to you, they're not going to tell you what you can do. Right?
So true. So true.
Yeah.
So instead, maybe approach it more like, you know what? It looks like I could maybe mow your lawn. Looks like the lawn needs to be mowed. Is that okay with you?
Mhm.
Or I'd love to drop off dinner, but I'll leave it on the step. I'll let you know. If you want to come out and chat with me, you're more than welcome to. You know, could I grab your laundry for you? Would that be helpful? Really letting them know. And when you commit to doing something, make sure you follow through and do it.
Yes.
You know, that shows that person, and then maybe they'll know that they can reach out if there is a particular need. And don't be afraid to just allow the silence to be. Sometimes we just feel like we need to fill the space with words. And really, there's not any great words to use. So sometimes just sitting in that space with someone is more than enough.
Wow. That's really good concrete advice.
Yeah, that's really good stuff to know, because like we were saying a minute ago, like everybody handles grief differently. Some people want to make folks and laugh to help kind of ease the tension. Some people don't like that. It's everybody's different. It's hard to know, but those are some really good steps that you told us.
Oh, good.
What about with children? If you're trying to talk to children about death and grieving, what are some advice you have specifically for that age group?
Absolutely. As adults, we understand language like, I lost someone or they passed away. For kids, language like that can be very confusing. So we really advocate for concrete language. And that can feel really difficult for adults, because when you say died and dead, it sounds kind of harsh, very direct. Yeah. But for children, that's really important, because as you can imagine, we lost so-and-so, well, let's go find them. Or sometimes people might say, God loved them so much, they went to heaven to be with God. So I'm not going to be good because I don't believe, right? Mm-hmm. Or, they're just sleeping. Well, I'm not going to go to sleep. I don't want to sleep, because I want to wake up in the morning. So really that concrete language is important. Other things you can do for children is give them as much of the truth developmentally that they can handle. And even when we're talking about things like suicide, it's important to be as truthful as you can in an age-appropriate way. Mm-hmm. They don't necessarily need the details. With children, too, less is more is still that's really still good advice to follow. Mm-hmm. Because when you give them the news that they've had someone die, let them figure it out. They probably then will go and play. Sometimes that doesn't make a lot of sense to us as adults, but that's what they do. They figure out a lot of stuff in their play. That's very normal. They may come back and they may ask a question. So allow them to lead that. You don't have to give them a whole bunch of details. When they need more, they will ask for more. Mm-hmm. Also helping them identify feelings. When we're talking about early elementary, later elementary even, and sometimes when you're talking junior high or middle school, helping them identify feelings they probably have never had in their life. Yeah. And a time when you felt that way is a great example. There's a million feelings books. They don't have to be grief related. And to be able to show kids, here's this feeling. I remember I had it when, and they can go, oh, okay. The other thing I would say too, and I could talk about this forever, but as adults, don't be afraid to show your feelings and emotions in front of your children. Mm-hmm. Because we want to remember as adults that we're mentoring that for kids. So if we try really hard, and we have adults all the time trying not to cry, right? Yeah. But you would never want your kids to hold back their feelings or emotions, and you're mentoring that for them.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all that. That's very helpful.
Sure.
And it is hard. We all have different roadmaps on how we think we should be doing this, and it's really helpful to hear an expert like yourself helping us with that, because it's one of the toughest conversations. But what if you're the person who's grieving the loss of a loved one? Do you have any advice on some of the ways to communicate to your circle, to your family and friends on what you need?
Absolutely. And I think, as Brian so wisely said, everybody's journey is unique. So what you might need, I might not need. So to really allow yourself to recognize what those needs are and express them to the people in your circle. So we've even worked with folks that, if you're not feeling the holidays, express that to your family and friends that you would typically spend that time with and say, you know what, I'd like to keep this plan, but I hope it's okay that I might change my mind. And it could be at the last minute, right? So to be able to express those needs, but you may not feel like talking. Allow somebody to write it out, to be able to share it with people.
That's good. That's good.
And, when we're thinking about people who experience grief, maybe they get a little bit of time off of work and it's time to get back to work, and you're wondering how people are going to act or react to you. Figure out what you would like when you go back to work. Maybe you don't want to talk about it. Let your leader know, when I come back, I would really rather just be at work. I want to just try to be at work. Let your leader express to your coworkers, Susie's going to come back to work and she'd really rather not talk about her grief. Or it's okay to talk to me about my grief. People want to know too. They really want to know how they can be supportive, and you get to lead that. As a society, it's kind of flipping the script a little bit. We have a hard time accepting people's grief, and we want them to get over it quickly because we're uncomfortable. We encourage people to take ownership of their own grief and to be able to say, this is what I need, and that it's okay.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
And we do have you coming to the library for an upcoming event. And I know that a big focus of your event is going to be the holidays, because we have Thanksgiving and Christmas and all those other wonderful holidays coming up soon, which are in many ways joyous occasions, but they can be especially sad if you're grieving the loss of a loved one. So why don't you share just a little bit about why you feel that could be an especially difficult time for some folks?
The holidays are laden with tradition. They're laden with family and friends and people gathering together. And when somebody is missing, you feel it. It's everywhere. You can't really get away from it, whether you all decorated the tree together or you shared a special dinner on that holiday. Whatever it is, now you're faced with going, that person is no longer here. So it can be what we refer to as a trigger for your grief. You might have been cruising along okay in your grief. The holidays come up, and then all of a sudden I realize I'm alone. I don't have my person here with me. It can be really, really hard to get through the holidays in that way. Holidays are usually all about togetherness, and so you feel the missing of that person even more, which is why making a plan is something we advocate for. Make your plan. And as I said earlier, it's okay to change the plan, right? But to make a plan, figuring out ways to maybe honor or memorialize your person can be a good strategy too. Whether it is you have an empty seat at the table, or you light a special candle, or you do something that person loved to honor them, can feel good. It's like, in a way, they're still there with you in the way that they can be.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
For sure.
Now, we'd like to let everyone know that you are going to be at, well, we say the library, but obviously since we're doing our refresh, we have different locations. But your talk is going to be on November 18th, and the title is Grief 101. And before we get into the details, is this a talk that would be appropriate for a family to attend, or is this more geared towards adults?
Amy, the way we've titled it is a Grief 101 for adults.
Okay.
But what I will say is it never fails when I'm doing a talk or presentation. There's always questions about kids, and that's okay, right? As
Right.
adults, we have a heart for when we know kids are grieving. So that those questions are very, very welcome. But I know I've been asked more to speak to adult grief.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah. So, we're certainly looking forward to hosting that event. We think it'll be really beneficial to a lot of people. And again, that will be taking place at Royalton Township Hall in St. Joseph. That is located at 980 Miners Road, and the event is Monday, November 18th at 6:30. So I'm sure Stephanie will have a lot of very insightful things to say. So we're really looking forward to that event. And in the meantime, Stephanie, we really appreciate you coming on the show today. Just to kind of wrap it up, if anybody that's listening out there wants to reach out and learn more about the services that you have to offer, what would be the best way or ways to contact you?
Absolutely. Anyone can give us a call at 269-983-2707. You can also reach us on our website, which is lorysplace.org. We are on social media, so Facebook Messenger always works, or Instagram. But also I would say anyone can even just walk in the door. There's typically someone here Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 o'clock at least. And we also have somebody on call 24/7, 365. So often nights are hard. Anybody can give us a call at the number I provided and reach someone.
All right,
That's
wonderful.
fantastic.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there that would find that beneficial. So, Stephanie, once again, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to your event coming up soon.
Thank you so much. I'm excited about it as well.
All right, wonderful. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you so much.
You too. Take care.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Well, Amy, that was a really insightful interview that we had with Stephanie. I thought she provided a lot of really good information on a difficult topic. It's going to be helpful to a lot of people. Yeah. So I know at the beginning we talked about the holiday season and some of the good things that are coming up. But like we kind of talked about in the interview, in some ways, especially if you're grieving a loved one who you've lost, it can be a difficult time as well. And it's a time in many instances for reflection and thinking about some wonderful memories. So, Amy, I thought I'd give you an opportunity to maybe talk about a memory or two that you have with a loved one that's no longer with you.
Oh, wow. Well, I lost my father over 20 years ago. My dad passed away. So that's very impactful, as you can imagine, to lose a parent. Mm-hmm. And I was relatively young. I was about to turn 33 when my dad died. Mm-hmm. And so holidays can be hard. They're not hard anymore. But I really noted how Stephanie mentioned that there are people who come to Lory's Place years and years after the loss of somebody. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes it might take you that long to deal with it. It might take you that long to realize you want to talk to people about it. So I thought that was very encouraging for people who are listening. But in regards to my dad, he was kind of like Zorba. He was a big, larger than life Greek guy from Brooklyn. And so I have so many happy memories of him. And I think really when you lose somebody, it's not just the holidays that bring it up. It can be every day or small things in your day-to-day world that make you think of them.
And you talked about trying to get over it. And I think that means something different to different people.
Good point.
Because, you can be over it in terms of you've moved on with your life, but that doesn't mean you stop missing them and you don't forget about them.
Exactly right. No, It's almost that you learn to live with that hole in your heart. Mm-hmm. And how do you go on from there? Yeah. And look, I mean, time doesn't heal all wounds, obviously, but it certainly gives you skills and teaches you things. Mm-hmm. That's one thing to hold on to. What about you, Brian?
I'll bring up a couple of them if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Well, I was very close to my grandparents growing up. They came over to our house several times a week. talked to them all the time on the phone and when they came over. And, I'm sure a lot of our patrons know that I'm a huge baseball fan. I come from a family of baseball fans.
You wear that proudly.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah. I enjoy patrons come in all the time and ask me about, different teams and everything. I really have a lot of fun doing that. But I come from a family of baseball fans, and my grandparents, they both passed away. My grandma went first. She died in 2006, and my grandpa died in 2009. And they were really huge Detroit Tigers fans. They watched every single game, talked about them with me all the time. For those of you that know your baseball history, the Tigers were awful for many, many years. And then all of a sudden in 2006, they were like, nobody expected them to do anything, but they ended up being really good and got all the way to the World Series. They lost to the Cardinals, but my grandma died in August of that year, right when they were in the middle of their first good season in a really long time. And I remember before they got to the World Series, they beat the Yankees and then the A's in the playoffs. And when I watched them win both of those series, I almost started crying watching that, because it was like, wow, I really wish you were here to see this. So that was that was a really tough year in a lot of ways, that 2006. And like I said, my grandpa died in 2009. And I'll also bring up my in-laws as well. I married my wife, Sarah, back in 2013. Our families knew each other for many years before Sarah and I started dating and we got married.
Cool.
Our moms used to be coworkers.
Oh my gosh.
And so Sarah's dad passed away suddenly in 2020. He was 57. And her mom died 2 years after that in 2022. And she was only 61, I believe. So they died, too soon. But I'll just share a quick story. Sarah and I, we started dating back in 2013. And after about 6 months or so, we had decided we had gotten married, or we wanted to get married. So I sent a message, I think it was a text message to her dad saying that I wanted to marry Sarah, and he asked me to come over to his house. So a couple days later I did. And he had 3 of his grandkids with him. So he took us all to McDonald's. And while the 3 grandkids played in the playland, we had a conversation in McDonald's playland where he gave me his blessings. So,
that is hysterical.
So that's my favorite memory. I have lots of great memories of my in-laws, and it's really sad that they're gone now, but those memories stay with you forever.
Yes, they do. Thank God.
So, I'm sure many of you have lots of great memories of loved ones as well. Hopefully this episode offered a lot of great insight for you. We really appreciated having Stephanie here. And Amy, once again, had a really good time doing this podcast today. So thank you so much. And we hope everybody has a good rest of their day. And we'll look forward to sharing the next episode with you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.